Look at that neck! Dude, look at that neck snap! Ah!
Let's just have Robert Downey Jr. just do this and like try to make stuff stick to him. Let's say I'm supervising. Here's what stands out to me.
We should have our diplomas. Where's my VFX diploma?
Hi, welcome to VFX Artists React to Marvel's bad and good CGI. Now we've seen other people do their own versions of React videos online with different professionals working in different kinds of fields. And we wanted to do one for ourselves as visual effects artists and filmmakers here on YouTube. Here at Corridor, we're going to react to how Marvel has done their crazy CGI in their films.
It's called just throw money at the problem.
I am Iron Man.
This entire shot that you're seeing right here, 100% of every single pixel is computer generated.
Really?
Even his hands?
His fingers, his face, his jacket, all of that is 100% CG.
That is one good looking CG face.
They made an entire main character that's computer generated and super realistic looking. I think Thanos looks awesome. Over a dozen studios worked on this movie. So what they do is they have different levels of detail for certain shots. So they have the highest resolution, highest detailed 3D model of Thanos' face for all like the hero close-up shots. But as soon as it gets further than like a medium or a wide, there's no reason to have all that detail there. You're just wasting gigabytes of data. So you're not gonna see all the pores in his face from this far away.
So on his right cheek, there's some pores and little wrinkles. And when he smiles, the pores stretch. I mentioned that in the very first one. And that's like, that kind of stuff, there's technology there for it, but such high-end custom-made technology. It's those kind of things that make faces look real. Or like the crow's feet on the corners of his eyes, and their skin folding into those crow's feet. These are the kind of details that you have to get right to have a CG face work. And it's like, you have to have such specialized knowledge to make it work. It's so crazy. Notice his hairs are catching light on the left side of his face there.
He has hair? I can't see.
Yeah, he has stubble. Like Thanos apparently shaves.
You're right, he does have stubble. What?
So does it mean that he shaves like every morning before he goes out?
That's hilarious, dude.
And now it's probably just them needing to make Thanos look real, and we don't identify faces without the hair as being real, so they need to put stubble on him. But the hair itself is catching the light and shining. That means that it's physical hair as part of that model. It's sticking out of him and catching that light.
It's not quite human enough to make you fooled into believing that they're trying to make him.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly. Who's that? What?
You can't ask who's who if you haven't seen the movies. Ending fight between Black Panther and Killmonger in Black Panther. Anytime people says, oh, it looks like a PlayStation game, it does such a disservice to what you're actually seeing.
More of an Xbox kind of thing.
We can all agree that the scene isn't very well done, but do you know why that ended up being the case?
Yeah,
this whole scene they shot in October, and by the time the visual effects company got it, it was like December. They only had about 6 weeks to do this entire scene.
They probably got a good paycheck out of it.
Can't guarantee that because you're going overtime doesn't mean you'll get paid for it. That's just the state of the visual effects industry.
Okay, so what? They're given another 6 months. What do you do with those 6 months to make this scene better?
All right, I'm sitting down, I'm going to critique the scene. Let's say I'm supervising. Here's what stands out to me. First off, I would approach a production designer and be like, why do you have a black background on a black road in a black cave with two guys in black suits fighting? Because now there's no way for me to have their silhouettes read. We're in a tricky situation now where I need to be able to see these figures, but they're on a black background. So I need to artificially just raise the light on the figure completely for them to pop out. So now he's kind of like gray and black.
Yeah.
Like there's black on his edges, but like in his armpit, there's like no contact shadow. There's no shadow really in general in his armpit or like beneath his head. And if you look at the background, the rules of the scene have established that the black levels in the background go deeper than what you're seeing on the suit. So he's just kind of artificially raised up. And that's another thing that's triggering me. If you look at his head, the orange and black guy in the background, his head is shiny. The brightness of that shine on his head is implying that the light shining on his head is brighter than that. But the lights in the scene around us that we're seeing with our eyes are not that bright. It's a subtle thing, but subconsciously you can see it if it's wrong, because you see light every day.
One single source of light really just making a very dramatic looking image, it would have improved it so much.
Like Jurassic Park or Detective Pikachu, you know? Like it was those scenes where they used the one source of light.
Ambient lighting is the death of realism for visual effects. Nothing is ever just ambiently lit.
I think I see another issue here that's making this look fake. They turn their motion blur up a lot, probably to hide some of the flaws. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do motion blur. When you're doing motion blur in CG, the quick and easy way is you do something called motion vectors, where for every pixel, you get another pixel that's a color, and that color represents a direction. And later on in post, you can stretch the pixel out based on that motion vector that you're getting. You can make more motion blur, less motion blur. It's great for changing things. Here's the problem, though. It can only describe a direction. So if my hand does an arc, right, and for that one shutter, you're getting an arc of motion, well, it can't describe a curve. It can only describe a direction. What I'm seeing here, none of the motion blur curves. Every motion blur line is a straight line. See there, his fish should have had an arc there. There's no highlights that have a curve. They're all straight lines.
So you're saying that the motion blur isn't baked into the 3D render, it's an actual filter that's applied on top of it.
Dude, I feel like we're detectives right now because like this all makes sense. This all makes sense. You would do that if you didn't have the time because adding motion blur straight out of the render adds a lot of time.
And that's how you get the curves, though.
And that's how you get the curves. It's more realistic that way. But if what we're saying here, which sounds right and looks right, they rendered out a pass and then they added it later.
Which is a valid thing to do. We do it all the time.
Absolutely.
All the time. There, you see the curves on the highlights on his ankles there?
Yeah.
That's what the motion blur should look like in the other scene, but you're not getting any of that. This is also a great example of actual, like, more effective lighting. He's sitting next to a light, so you're getting some, like, volume.
That's a good looking shot right here.
Yeah, this looks great.
But also bear in mind, it's a little harder to see him because he blends in with the background a little bit more. So it goes back to the production design thing you're talking about. A good visual effects shot is more than just technical prowess. It has to have, like, artistic vision as well. You have to have all the things that would make any shot look good go into it. Just because it's technically accurate doesn't mean those things exist.
It's really interesting, though, how, like, such a small thing can take people out.
It's a big challenge we face. The more high-end we go with our effects, the more any tiny little flaws stand out.
One thing you can't take away, I am Iron Man.
CG.
That looks good, son.
That's CG. That looks real good.
Yeah, that looks so cool.
Great. This has to be CG.
This is CG, yeah. Okay. They remade the entire suit computer generated so that they can have all the control they needed and have all like the little gizmos and stuff moving that you can't really do with the real suit.
That was a great little comp there.
Two things stand out to me. First, the motion is pretty decent for them putting CG on a head. The hard thing is you have to project shadows onto a real face. So basically you have to remodel the face in CG and then use that as a shadow catcher basically from the 3D objects being there to cast a shadow onto that. It looks kind of all right around the edges of his face there, but what looks really good is when the thing above his head comes down, right there, that shadow looks really solid because not only is it casting a shadow, but it's removing the shine from his skin. There, that's an artist going in there and taking the time to figure out what the skin tone would look like in shadow, but also removing shine. The second touch that I really like here, finger smudges on the helmet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
That's the first thing you should really learn as a texture artist when it comes to making textures for CG objects is surface imperfections. That will bring the realism up from just like, oh yeah, that looks real, I guess, to, oh, that is a real thing.
Because it's all about the reference. Like, you have to reference something like this chrome helmet I got on my desk.
Yeah, look at that. Look at all the imperfections there.
Like, there's dust on here. There's fingerprints on here, and the fingerprints react to light in a specific way. There's like scratches and wash. There's little dust elements. It's more than just a chromed out sphere.
The one from Iron Man 2, where he has like the little briefcase and it suits up, I remember really liking that because I thought it was super cool.
Now, arguably that suitcase would be as heavy as the suit.
You are so right. God dang, that's so cool.
So outside here, his face is a lot more light acting on it, so it's harder to fake a shadow on it, so they just get through it really fast by having the helmet close quickly.
Favorite part about that is the mask itself actually fits into place like puzzle pieces and all the seams disappear.
It's not just the modeling and the cool lighting and rendering, it's the animation. Like the animators are totally killing it here. Like the designs for all the mechanical intricacies, and that stuff you actually have to study mechanical design. You can't just fake it 100%.
But dude, there's so much work that goes into animating all that stuff. Every little piece, like all the anchor points are perfectly locked in, and it like when you move one thing, the other thing moves with it. It's just like
look how many pieces are on his face right there. Like that would take me like a week just to animate that. It's an idea of how many people it takes to do a movie. Oh, I'm gonna need my suit really fast. Here we go. Oh,
I think the first Avengers film is my favorite Marvel.
First Avengers film is a wonderful movie. The helmet shadows on his face were perfect, right there. Check it out. Look at that. Look at those perfect shadows on his face.
This is my only complaint with this film and a lot of other films is not necessarily the actual rendering of the CG stuff. It's the physics of the animation. If he was to actually stop that quickly and turn around, his aorta would rip away from his heart. And he would just die inside the suit. They're just like, oh, he's in a suit. He can fall out of the sky and just land on the ground and be totally fine. But it's like all of his internal organs would be squished from the momentum.
It's the same with Superman when he catches someone who's fallen off
Exactly,
the air.
exactly.
They'd be dead immediately. They just
At least they did that in the second Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield.
Did they for real?
No,
No
she
way.
slams her head into the ground.
What?
He's a little late, and so that he catches her. So she's falling through the air. Spider-Man's chasing after him.
Dude.
She kind of hit the ground.
Kinda! She smacked into the ground full force. Kind of.
She hit that ground.
Dude, she's done for, son.
Wait, go frame by frame.
Dude, she bounced. She bounced. Look at that neck. Dude, look at that neck snap. Ah! Dude. Sweet.
This is where it gets complicated. Like when somebody moves their fingers and you gotta track the model over it, that's a lot of work. This is just like how difficult to make a suit up sequence for our visual effects artists. That's what this is right here. Let's just have Robert Downey Jr. just do this and like try to make stuff stick to him.
Anytime you see a CG thing and there's a flare over the top of that, that flare was recreated for that shot.
Yep.
Hopefully.
It wasn't like cut out and put back on top. It was literally created from scratch and put on top.
Yeah.
I think this is a very realistic looking suit. It matches the scene. The black levels are all matched. Like
You're right.
it looks real.
If there's a flare over like where you want to put a CG element, the problem is like you have a half transparent like color circle, and somehow you need to like mask it out to put it on top of your footage, even though it's half transparent. It's like trying to mask out a window. You can't really do that.
The main solution is to literally just recreate it.
But like the director of photography needs to choose lenses here that don't flare for the visual effects elements, so that they can add the flaring later.
That's some forward thinking on set for sure.
Who are you in this vast multiverse?
Have you seen Doctor Strange, Clint?
I'm not.
I think you'll dig this.
I actually really enjoyed Doctor Strange. I thought it was pretty trippy and fun.
Yeah.
And who doesn't like Mads Mikkelsen? Come on.
Doctor Strange has some pretty cool stuff.
So far, I'm digging this. I love the color, love the vibes. Dang, that's awesome.
The really cool stuff here is like dream-like architecture that's just changing and warping and blending and moving, which is such a great use of CG where it's like, we're not trying to make it real, we're just gonna embrace what computers can do well, and that's recursive, procedural, fractal animation, which looks so cool.
Yeah. You can actually do a lot of those particle effects
Whoa.
using After Effects and Trapcode Particular, which is a particle plugin for After Effects. You can do a lot of that same sort of stuff.
Dude, that is crazy.
Why is he running when he has
Look at
a
this,
flying
this is
cape?
orthographic perspective.
Whoa, dude, that's awesome.
They even did like a weird like
Well, the car's phasing
projection
in.
mapping thing too.
Orthographic perspective doesn't have actual like vanishing points, so something that's close to you and something that's far from you are the exact same size.
Like an architectural drawing.
It only exists in CG, and I love that they just went for it there.
Awesome.
A little bit of Syriac.
We need you to run down the street and do this. Okay.
But now you see the entire city bending around and moving.
Sick. That's awesome. Whoa.
This stuff's so cool. I love when you can just get inventive and kooky and weird with your, like, your visual effects budgets. I'm tired of seeing people blow millions of dollars just like blowing stuff up. Like,
Yeah, this is cool
I love
stuff,
when
man.
you can do really cool stuff like this.
Super imaginative.
Like
wow.
Like, showing me things that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
With your team of artists. And crazy cameras, but like this is so great. Like I don't care that it's CG.
It's
like,
fun to watch.
yeah.
Triggered this thing where you can't quite follow it. It's like watching one of like Google's Deep Dream videos where it's like, what am I looking at? Like I see things that I can parse, but yet I can't actually place them into something.
This
But
is,
it's not a visual mess either.
Yeah.
No, everything's thought out here. This is incredible, man. So full CG characters
I was
this whole time.
No, for some
That's
of it.
gotta be.
That right there, I honestly don't know. They're so good, you can never like just tell by looking at it whether or not a character is digital versus for real. Like for a lot of that stuff, it's probably easier to do it digitally.
Oh, it's over. I could just keep watching it.
That's
all day.
awesome. That's super satisfying to watch, man. Yeah, there's like VFX that try to replicate real life, and then there's VFX that look like real life and then mess with it. like
Yeah.
that, or like an Inception.
But that's also a little bit of kind of like what we do here at Corridor. We kind of like try to find novel twists on things that you are already familiar with.
Because like,
And like, how can we make it different?
exactly.
And that was what that movie did. They took a city, everyone's familiar with the city, and they just did some really crazy different things with it.
Dude, it's that 80-20, man. Gotta get that 20% unfamiliar, 20% fresh.
In the movie Endgame, they have those white suits. Have you seen the trailer where they're all wearing those white suits? Well, for all of you guys who have seen the movie Endgame, all those white suits, every single one of them is digital.
Really?
They didn't exist when they shot the movie because they didn't have the design for them at the time. They
Those
didn't
are
exist
all
when they
fake.
shot the movie. They are all fake.
Wow.
Every single white suit in this movie is fake. And no one complains about it because no one was able to tell that they were fake. They thought they were real
crazy.
costumes. Patrick Willems, I love his video essays, and he made a point on Twitter about like, why didn't they just design the suits? Like, why not just have the suits for filming? And it's like, well, there's a million different things that maybe are just not ready in time for the time of shooting.
You have
Product
so many
doesn't-
costumes to deal with already with the Avengers.
yeah, and it's like your final product doesn't represent the trouble you went through to get to that point. So that was probably one of their troubles, is like, we don't have the suits designed yet, and so it's not a problem. It's now an asset that they can use for making the movie.
I bet the colors are real. We have had incredible reception making these visual effects artist react videos. We look forward to making many more, but we need your help. Leave a comment below with any movies, shows, music videos, things that you think would be great to react to, and we will take it and we're gonna make it happen.
What do you guys want? Bollywood? The Matrix? We got all that stuff planned. We need more ideas, guys.
But maybe in the meantime, check out the crew channel that this is on.
And if you want to see some of our visual effects, check out the Corridor channel.